Hello guys, welcome back to our channel. Today, we are going to start our new horror story. If you like our old story, then don't forget to like and subscribe. So let's start without any further delay. Pop culture is the graveyard of words. Original meanings are lost when language is repurposed. Creatively yet destructively. Of course, there's only really a problem when significant words are rendered meaningless. When, for instance, illnesses become adjectives. When a person is just a little OCD, depressed, bipolar, psychotic, and that final word is one I used recklessly in my adolescence, but its true meaning became awfully apparent when my very perception of reality unwound. When I became unbound, the onset of my psychosis was unbearable. I was scared, confused, alone. Developing imaginary friends is endearing at the age of 8, but worrisome at the age of 18. I knew that. It's why I didn't let my loved ones know about my sickness. Of course, they noticed my change in demeanor, my general mental deterioration. However, given the recent death of my father, this erratic behavior was tied to grief. The root cause was overlooked. I hid as any symptoms that's possible, made sure that my real friends didn't know about my imaginary ones, didn't know about my all-knowing companions who peculiarly appeared wherever I went. I was lucid enough to realize that they weren't real, lucid enough to realize that none of it was healthy. First came Grant, then Shirley, then Albert. These three friends weren't always present, but one or more of them would typically be a stone's throw away. It took very little time for me to realize that these imaginary friends were amalgamations of real people. For my life, Grant reminded me of my late father. He was gentle but firm, grounded, trustworthy. Shirley reminded me of my late grandmother, a little lost in the clouds but warm and wise, boundlessly wise. Her keen intellect compensated for her lack of common sense. Albert, however, was the anomaly, the Wally I never missed. Despite my best efforts to say that he unsettled me, would not be doing the feeling justice, but I tried desperately to dispel the ache of my stomach. I told myself that Albert, like the others, must simply be a collage of faces and words that have shaped my life. I would have told myself anything to dislodge the lump in my throat, the one that bobbed to the surface whenever Albert entered the room. It always threatened to take the wind from my lungs, and I believed I would wake in the dark place Albert inhabited when he wasn't watching me. It was a false belief. Of course, Albert was always watching. Earlier this year there came the inevitable nervous breakdown. After 6 years of suppressing a steady stream of emotions, the dam burst. I lost my job. That was the trigger to coming clean about the delusions. I've been hiding the truth since I was 18, but I knew I would struggle to do so forever. I told my mother, my girlfriend, my friends. I revealed that I'd been seeing people who weren't there, that I buried the truth beneath a shallow mound of antidepressants and strained smiles, but the thin coating had weathered away. As I had always known it would, there was something freeing about revealing this secret, and I reverted to my adolescent self, finally allowing myself to process everything that has haunted me since those late teenage years. As a result, I became a lot closer to my mother. It was a relief for her to finally understand why I distanced myself for so many years. There had been more to it than grief, and it certainly had nothing to do with her. I know you'd rather have April with you right now, Mom said. I smiled, patting her hand softly. I brought my mother to the doctor for emotional support, but she came for her sake too. Mom was frightened on my behalf, as I had recently opened up about my S-word ideation. She didn't want me to lose in the same way we lost Dad. Still, I'd reached out for help this time. That was what I reminded her and myself as we sat in the waiting room. April tried her best to come, I said, but I'm happy that you're here, Mom. It's outrageous that her would and give her the afternoon off work. This is important, Mom huffed. It's only an appointment with the GP, I replied. Don't get worked up, you'll send your blood pressure through the roof. My mother nodded absent-mindedly. Will he prescribe antipsychotics? That was what he implied over the phone. I said, this really isn't a big deal, Mom. I feel silly for asking you to come. In fact, he said I'd have to do an actual Consultation alone, so there's nothing silly about it. Justin, Mom interjected with a gasp. You and I should talk about everything, big or small, day or night. I know, Mom, I said. I will. I'm getting better at talking. Take a breath. Sorry, she exhaled. I don't mean to be overbearing, Mother. You're not overbearing, I replied. I'm very lucky to have you. I'm the one who should be sorry that you have to suffer too. Don't talk that way, Justin, Mom whispered tearfully. We're here for you, you know that, don't you? I frowned. It feels easier sometimes to bottle up my problems, to not be a burden. It makes my mind a little quieter when I only have to worry about myself. My mother shook her head. That's your illness speaking. No matter the lies it tells, never face it alone. Your father was the same. He wants you to be weak and alone. That's why it keeps you away from those who you love. You. But Justin Woods, a voice called from an open door beyond the waiting area. That's me, I loudly responded before standing and turning to face my mother. I'll be waiting right here, she promised. So will I, Grant softly whispered. I avoided turning my head to face the gray-haired middle-aged gentleman sitting in the plastic chair beside my mother, the gentleman who did not exist. I didn't want to upset my mother, so I beamed at her, hoping that Grant would not know if I was a smile intended for both of them. Of course he knows, I thought. He's in your head. Come on, a fragile voice beckoned, scratching my earlobe. It's time again. I didn't have to turn my head to know it was Shirley, though I had fixed my focus on Dr. Rowland, who stood at the edge of the waiting area. I sensed the old woman shuffling alongside me. Shirley always struggled to match my pace, yet never slipped too far behind. She was bound to me and only me, my inner sage. A melancholic wave suddenly rushed up my body, leaving my throat with an acidic sting. I longed to properly say goodbye to my two dear friends before the medication erased them from my brain. However, I didn't want to catch the attention of Dr. Rowland. It would have bothered him, of course, but I was self-conscious about my illness. Even in a place built to treat ailments, matters of the mind are not the same as matters of the body. There's a taboo with mental illness, a stigma that no matter how much we pretend otherwise is prevalent throughout the world. That is why I hid my symptoms for so many years. That is why Albert emerged. It's okay, Justin, Shirley assured me, placing a frail palm on my shoulder whilst waving her free hand my brow. We are up there, but I won't be able to hear you anymore, I thought, while smiling convincingly at Dr. Rowland. We guide you even when you don't hear us, Shirley said soothingly. You are me, you are all of those who have come before you, those who have shaped you. Don't worry about us, champ, Grant said, having abruptly appeared on the other side of me. You're allowed to let go, you're allowed to heal. I'm proud of you, pal, and he would be too. I nodded ever so slightly, but stopped when Dr. Rowland started to frown, having clearly noted the turmoil and blazing across my vacant eyes. Are you okay, Mr. Woods, he asked. I cleared my throat. Yes, just a little nervous. The doctor smiled, motioning for me to follow him into his office. Quite understandable, but I promise that I'm going to help you through this. I'm not here to write a prescription over the coming weeks and months as you adjust to the medication. I will monitor your progress. I nodded, sitting beside Dr. Rowland's desk as he closed the door. Do you have any questions, he asked as he slumped into the seat opposite me. I paused. Is it really as simple as getting a referral, then heading to the pharmacist? Will pills make the noise go away? Dr. Rowland smiled again. We're going to try olanzapine, Justin. Now the effects of this medication vary slightly from person to person. Some notice a marked decline in symptoms of psychosis within a matter of days. For others it may take a few weeks, but as I said during our phone consultation, I will be with you for every step of the way, Justin. I always have been, haven't I? I raised an eyebrow, and the doctor laughed. Really, you don't remember me? I'm glad I had made such a big impression, Justin. Your parents have been bringing you here since you were a child. I know, I said. It's not that, and I remember you, Dr. Rowland. It's just those were appointments for sickness, bugs, and minor injuries. I never thought I'd see a doctor about any like this. For the past few years I've been living in denial, pretending that I haven't gone crazy. That's not a kind of way to talk to yourself, Justin. The doctor cautioned as he printed off a prescription slip. "You're unwell, not crazy. You take antibiotics for a nasty infection just as you take antipsychotics for this slight hiccup. In your mind, I suppose so," I uncertainly replied as I accepted the small strip of paper. "Do I need to come back here for repeat prescriptions?" Dr. Rowland shook his head. "I'd suggest using the patient access website to order online. You just go to the pharmacy and get a top-up. No need to see my anointing mug every time." "That's it?" I asked. The man nodded kindly. "That's it, but I'll contact you to arrange a checkup appointment in a few months just to see how you've been reacting to the medication, and if you experience any side effects in the meantime, please contact me." "Side effects?" I gulped. "It's a possibility with any medication," he said, "but don't worry, Justin, we're just trying something out, and if it doesn't work, we'll try something else. Does that sound like a good plan?" I mumbled some words of agreement as I shakily rose to my feet. Then I hurriedly slipped the paper into my coat pocket, jamming my hand deeply inside. I was afraid to lose my winning ticket, so I won't see people anymore. "People who aren't there?" I asked. "The AL land of P should eradicate or reduce symptoms," the doctor replied, leading me to the door. "Of course, if it doesn't improve anything, you'll have to let me know. Let's just take it one day at a time. Everything is going to be okay, Justin, so everyone keeps telling me," I thought as I shuffled out of the door that the doctor impatiently held open. As I passed through the hallway between Dr. Rowland's office and the waiting area, I felt that awfully familiar clump in my esophagus. An unwelcome visitor constricted my airway, and I knew what I would see before I even twisted my head to the right. At the far end of the corridor, past the rows of offices, there stood a man with arms stiffly clamped to his sides, a man whose features were always indistinct even when he stood so near. Albert. He wore a forgettable attire for all I knew. It may have always been the same, may have been different every time. I struggle even after seeing him so many times to describe his facial features, for he was murky and abstract, but I always knew his face when I saw it. To catch even a glimpse of his uneven eyes and lips was a paralyzing nightmare. No other fear has been compared. The tall man was chained by unseen shackles to the clinic's tiled floor, and his entire body was practically convulsing. An inflating and deflating chest communicated his innermost fury. Albert was not like the others. He did not support my desire to heal. He had made that clear after my initial phone call with Dr. Rowland. Since that day, the man had remained uncharacteristically silent. In spite of the unnerving things Albert had a tendency to say, I feared him most when he had nothing to say at all, when he soundlessly eyed me from distant crevices, rage frothing at the surface. He lurked in the clinic's corridor, teetering on the precipice of lunging forward at any moment. His eyes revealed a desire to do something unspeakable. I didn't want to tempt him by watching and waiting, so I hurried along. Justin, Mom called. How did it go? I strolled into the waiting area with a fox smile. Mom, Grant, and Shirley were sitting in red plastic chairs verging on tears as I approached. Come on, I said, helping my mother to her feet. Time to buy some drugs, Justin, Mum tooted, grimacing. Those first 2 weeks were hellish yet emboldening. Being freed from my shackles did not invite some instantaneous moment of euphoria, as Dr. Rowland had warned. The process took time. He had not explained how messy it would be, however, how excruciating it would be at times to hear the jumbled words of Grant and Shirley as they slowly drowned, scrambling to be heard above the rising tide. Thoughts don't die, Justin, Shirley choked. Were part of you. By the following Friday I hadn't seen any of my friends for a couple of days, and that was my longest bout without hallucinations for years. To celebrate, I organized a dinner with Mom and April at our favorite Chinese restaurant, just the three of us for the first time in a long time. There would be a non-existent guest. That was what I planned. You seem better today, my mother said moments before tucking into a sticky rib. You had a good day yesterday, didn't you? April asked, turning and smiling at me. Sorry, I don't mean to speak on your behalf. Are you okay today, Justin? My publicist speaks the truth. I nodded theatrically, I'm happy and healthy, no further questions please, thank you. She rolled her eyes. There's one frustrating side effect, however, bad jokes. Oh no, he's always told those. My mom said, isn't this supposed to be a celebratory meal, not a roast? I asked, chuckling. It's both. My mother smiled. That's the Woods way. Your father would have had something funny to say right now, wouldn't he? I nodded, reaching across the table and clutching her hand. Funnier than anything I've said. My mother wiped a tear from her. I know you were both hilariously unfunny. Dad would be. He is so proud of you, Justin. I know that's a cliche, but cliches exist for a reason. I'm just so happy that you've improved so quickly. Seeing you and April smiling at each other just warms my heart. He is pretty lucky to have me, April agreed, grinning. I know you've been foes, but you're right. My mother said you're the daughter she always wanted. I teased. After 20 years of disappointment and with a measly son, you came a long way to save the day. Thanks, April. Justin, my mother groaned. I tittered as I climbed out of my chair, just nipping to the bathroom. I'll give you to some time to venture frustrations about me. Why, it's not as fun without you here to endure it, April said. Hardy har, I replied, startling her with a pinch at the shoulder as I walked away from the table. Will SPE, lining towards the bathroom door with a spring of my step and restaurant chatter in my ears. I barely noticed him. The nodding man sat alone at a booth in the corner of the restaurant, and it was his laughter that drew my attention. It rose above the roar of the dining area. He was amused by some unheard joke, so amused that tears trickled down his face, and my eyes met him as he motioned a hand towards the chair opposite the man I'd hoped to never see again. Chest jutting, I ignored Albert and scurried into the bathroom with a smile well and truly rubbed from my face. I pretended I hadn't seen him, pretended that I still hadn't hallucinated in days. Bracing against either side of the bathroom sink, it took a minute for me to control my breathing. I reminded myself that the medication was not a cure. I was never going to be entirely eradicated my illness, but simply treated, mitigate the worst symptoms. But why out of the three did Albert have to return? I wondered, sweat staining my flesh. Anybody else please? As if responding, there came labored breathing from the locked all behind me. My eyes unsteadily glanced at the mirror ahead, and I saw movement through the crack between the cubicle door and the wall. Saw a bloodshot eye peeking at me through the slim gap. Don't scream, Albert whispered, placing a finger on his lips as my mouth opened. You won't like what happens if you scream. Then the man wagged his finger through the cubicle narrow gap, urging me to come forward. I wanted to flee the bathroom, but there was no running from him. I knew that only obeying his commands would offer me the slightest respite, so I nodded and walked over to the locked bathroom stall with a gaping, quivering mouth. I've missed you, Albert whispered, panting heavily. I eyed his smiles, unevenly sized teeth through the slight opening, felt the decaying breath escape his jaws and wash across my cheeks. My very body shrank in terror as his warmy finger stretched forwards, threatening to tear into my cold cheek. I've been better lately, I croaked. Better? Albert asked, grin broadening. You were better before. They'll only burden you. Do you want me to make them go away? I'm going back to the table now, I whispered. Helly, I don't want to talk to you anymore, Albert. You're not real. Is that what Dr. Roller told you? Albert giggled, revealing a haunting fragment of his face. I'm very real, Justin. Very, 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 very real. I'm leaving, I stammered, taking ginger steps away from the unstable man. You're no fun, Justin. Albert sulked, his eyes mashing against the gap in an effort to follow my movement. It's just you and me, Justin. It'll always just be you and me. I'll help you, I'll free you. Jaw locked in a haunted gasp, I scurried out of the bathroom door. Albert was no longer sitting at the darkened table in the restaurant's corner, and I prayed he would stay in the bathroom cubic forever, preferably. Are you okay, dear? My mother asked, frowning as I returned to the table with a white complexion. Yes, I muttered, feigning a smile. It's just been an overwhelming couple of weeks. April smiled, taking my hand. You're doing so well, Justin. I'm proud of you. I nodded weakly, but I was not present for the remainder of the meal. My eyes Continually returned to the men's bathroom, squinting to search for Albert in the grimy corners of the room. His awful face was nowhere to be seen, and that did not comfort me. The following night I escaped from that primal paralyzing state of fear, told myself that I'd let a slight wobble affect me a little too much to distract myself. I invited some friends to my home, April, Michael, and Jane. I revealed my interaction with Albert, and my friends were fantastic, incredibly supportive. I felt foolish and reminded myself that I was stronger when I opened up to my loved ones. In spite of Albert's claims, people were not a burden and isolation was not freedom. I'm starving, Michael said. Shall I head to Domino's? Yes, Jane excitedly squealed. I'll come with you. Get us 2 margarita pizzas, please, April said. Thanks, mate, I added as the pair walked out of the door. There was a moment of silence in the lounge, followed by April twisting her head to offer a sultry, mischievous grin. And then there were 2, she whispered, bouncing her brows. Were you hoping for a quick game of Monopoly? I teased, motioning at the stacks of board games in the cabinet. My girlfriend rolled her eyes and seized my hand. Yes, let's play Monopoly upstairs. We were by no means quick. I'll leave it at that, April gasped afterwards, eyeing the bedside clock. It's 8 o'clock. Frowned as I got dressed. Already? What time was it when they left? 7, and there were no messages from them, she said. I in the WhatsApp chat shouldn't have taken them, and our Domino's is only around the corner. They must be playing Monopoly. I grinned. April snorted, shaking her head as she slipped into her clothes, but the warmth fled my lips as my eyes wandered to the bedroom window as I eyed a darkened figure at the back of my dark garden, dimly revealed by solar lights. Albert was watching from the shade of an oak tree. I tried to conceal my horror, but that caught April's eye, and she followed my gaze to the garden. I expected her to console me, expected her to say that I should talk to my doctor about the medication not working as well as I hoped. I certainly did not expect who's that. My body chilled as I processed April's question. 2 unthinkable words. I told myself that it had been an auditory hallucination, but I knew better. Knew when she frowned at me. Justin, do you know that man outside? She asked. That's your property, isn't it? I trembled. You can see him? April's face grew more fearful. Yeah, I see him. Justin, should we call the police or try telling them to leave? Do not go out there, I warned sternly, grabbing April by the shoulders. We're staying in this room, okay? April shivered wildly. Do you know him? You're scaring me, Justin. Let's just call the police. He'll just be some unknown unwell man. He's not dangerous. Please tell me he's not dangerous. I realized we both looked away from the window, and when I turned back to the garden I was unsurprised to find that Albert had vanished. I don't understand, whimpered. He's gone. April turned her head to the window, then back to me. He was real, Justin. I saw him. Let's call the police, whoever he is. Though you don't understand, I coldly interrupted. What don't I understand? April asked, shaking. You're not putting me at ease about him, Justin. Please just let me call the. There came the click of my front door opening, silencing and freezing the 2 of us in an instant. Michael, April yelled. Don't, I begged, putting a finger to her lips. It's not them. It's what, Justin? What? She cried. You won't believe me, I said, tiptoe towards the bedroom door, then inching it open. Through the opening I had a direct view of the stairs. The front door was swaying inwards and outwards, driven by a growing gust. There's nobody at the door, I whispered fearfully. Right, I'm doing it, April said, slipping her phone out before her finger hit a single number. Then came a creak from behind us. Our eyes were drawn to the in-suite of my bathroom, drawn to shapes which lunged from the unlit room into the goro of my bedroom. Long slithering fingers, one by one the awful things curled around the wood of the yacht door, tentatively pushing it open. April and I did not make a sound, whether frozen by fear or the shushing demon he watched as a face pushed out of the darkness. It squeezed through the doorway to reveal features no longer indistinct, still uneven, but horribly memorable. Albert's face was composed of moving wrinkles which soused and froed across his skin like waves. His eyes were no longer hazy holes that I would soon forget, but hypnotic chasms of darkness, endless pitch, shielded by eyelids that blinked with unsettling frequency. As Albert reached his unholy fingers towards April. I screamed and pulled her backward, screamed not only due to her near end but due to her scream. What frightened me was that April saw Albert too, and that meant he had always been real. That might not have haunted me so greatly if he had been a man, but he was something else. Albert violated the very laws of nature. I feared that I'd never be able to distinguish between truth and fantasy ever again. April and I sprinted down the stairs, and I felt the house quake under the strain of some immense weight. When we reached the swinging front door, I saw Albert's reflection in the window pane beside it. He had bloomed to an extraordinary, horrifying size, his dimensions filing the upper landing, and the man hunched as he pursued us downstairs. After stepping onto the front lawn, I twisted slowly but found that Albert had not followed us onto the front lawn. He had just disappeared after taking a second to relish in the breeze battering my skin. I joined April in crying for help. Those cries were drowned, however, by approaching sirens. Neither of us had managed to call the emergency services, but the reason for their arrival quickly revealed itself. At the end of the street, buried within the spade bark of a tree, was Michael's car. He had not been drinking, had not swerved to avoid something in the road. As far as eyes witnesses know, I knew what had done it. I knew who had panicked my two friends within that mangled heap of metal. April and I decided, without uttering another word to one another, that we did not speak of what we had seen. We rushed towards the paramedics and firefighters, but the fate of our friends was written on their grimacing faces. It was hours later that I thought of Albert's threat, thought of my mother. When we reached her flat, the place had been ransacked and she was nowhere to be seen. Months later, she is still missing. And my terror never dies. Not knowing what she endured or continues to endure is an agony deeper than seeing the contorted corpses of my friends in that wreckage. I don't know whether I'll ever see my mother again. I don't know whether I'd want to see her, want to see the things Albert has done. April and I haven't stopped running. I still believe that this thing follows us, though I now know it lives outside of me. Albert wants me to be alone, for that is how it survives. It feeds on my separation from all others. I know I should leave April if I isolate myself, giving Albert what he desires that may well save her. On the other hand, even if I abandon April, this creature may well still hunt her, may still do something unfathomably twisted to her. If I stay by her side, she has a chance. We both have a chance. I must remember what my mother said: no matter the lies it tells, never face it alone. That's enough for today, guys. I hope you like our story. We meet in the new horror story. Until you like and subscribe to our channel.